Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to budget hearing number 6 for the 2020-26 proposed budget. Council is meeting as a committee of the whole. I'm the chair of the Finance Committee, and here we go. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Murray is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Present.
Chair Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Councilmember Rathmo.
Present.
Councilmembers Matavetsky and Dundon are absent.
Okay, we're going to begin this evening with Chris Strand and the Golf Fund. So we're going to open our budgets to pages 138 to 147. Yes.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'll start with just a little recap of the season. So, Ely Park, we're on our 5th season as part of management under Troon. This year we actually already just crossed over 32,000 rounds for the season. Last year we did just over that all of last year, so we're already on record pace again. We should surpass that this week in total rounds. We've also done a little over $1 million in total revenue. We've never crossed $1 million in total revenue. So definitely well on a great path forward compared to doing literally half of that our first year. So it's been a great season overall, especially I can speak to compared to the region, being part of the Northeast regional team here for Troon. The first half of the year was a struggle. We had a lot of rain, a lot of storms, a lot of unplayable days through the first half of the year. And I would say the majority of my golf courses are behind or maybe over the last couple of months finally caught up. But Ely Park's been kind of ahead of that trend the entire way. We're a couple thousand rounds ahead of last year at this stage already. And it's been great to see that we kind of keeping the positive momentum. On top of great course conditions, this was also a tough year on turf, as a lot of my municipal facilities experienced. But Jeff and the team up there have done a tremendous job. We've had nothing but compliments all season long on course conditions and everything going on at the golf course. So, yeah, definitely it's been a keep stepping in the positive direction here, which has been great. Any particular questions I can answer?
Well, I'll get started.
Sure.
Even though I don't have much of a voice tonight, sorry. 32,000 rounds. What kind of capacity do we have remaining to grow?
Sure, that's a good question. Low 30s is kind of the watermark in the Northeast for being a busy golf course. And being our location kind of on top of the hill there, we're not going to get a lot of off-season rounds, right? We're almost always going to have to close at some point in November and not reopen till March. If you get some unseasonably warm weather, we'll certainly try to be open as much as we can. Unlike I know in the past, they would just totally close. So I think there's some room for growth. Again, this year we're doing that with really through the first half of July, being behind on unplayable days for sure. So it means there's definitely some capacity for that. If we get to mid 30s though, I think that's, I don't know if this will ever be a 40,000 round golf course. Maybe nor do we want it to be, but I definitely think, can we grow another 10% or so? I think there's room for that.
What about growing year-round, the membership?
Sure. So
how do we stack up against other courses in your portfolio that?
yeah, so I mean, we have I know over 200 annual pass holders again this year. That's a strong number. and you want a healthy balance of that, right? We're a public golf course, so you don't want to overstack on memberships or annual passes because they might play or take away too much of our key times that you want to be able to sell as well, right? So that's always a healthy balance of that. I would say we want to stay around that number, but we want to push the rate on that number, right? So we want to get a little more out of that without probably increasing it too much. Because really ultimately that's only, not even 20% of our business, right? So you want to be able to maximize your public golf. Where I think our opportunity for growth really is on the outing side and group side, and not just even golf, banquets and parties and stuff. We did the deck, which is tremendous. We want to add some tables underneath the deck that add to that.
You're getting ahead of me.
Sure,
Uh-huh.
I'm jumping ahead.
Do we have an idea, maybe based on credit card zip codes or something, how many rounds are actually shot by City of Binghamton residents?
I don't have that data in front of me, but yes, we can do that by zip code analysis. We do heat maps of our play, based on our utilization of rounds. I don't unfortunately have that number off the top of my head, but
Because I think, much like the baseball stadium, this is kind of a amenity for more than the City of Binghamton. But the City of Binghamton has floated, has taken responsibility and the financial burden of it over the years.
sure, understood.
And I do get asked occasionally by constituents that, hey, why isn't there a city resident discount and this and that and the other, so something that rattles around my head is
Sure. I mean, we have the annual pass and that for, that's obviously for your regulars that play a lot. That has been part of the discussion in the past, but we're already let's call it a very affordable round of golf, in the market. So there hasn't been a lot of room for giving discounts off of that, right? We've been trying to maximize our rate. I certainly think that's something we could all talk about in the future as, we keep wanting to maximize that. I think there's an opportunity for, whether it's a flat rate or a 10% discount or something like that, we could do that for residents.
So what do you consider now the peer courses in the area at Ely Park?
I mean,
Yes, I'm putting you on the spot.
was that?
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, so that's fine. I mean, I think condition wise, I think we're now starting to trend to be as good as almost anybody in the area, and that includes the Enjoys and stuff of the world. I know they're at a higher rate. I know they're at a different market kind of level, but I think, from a condition standpoint, we're pushing to get there. Now, it's an old golf course. It's short. It's never going to have kind of that look and feel of the tournament style golf course that a lot of those are. But, we're right there with a majority of those other courses now.
So I don't golf, but again, from constituents, I've been hearing very good things about the condition of the course, and that's been very gratifying to hear. We've heard a lot about the golf cart lease and that being up, and how's our golf cart fleet, and how long do we have to enjoy it before we have to take on another hit?
Yeah, sure. So there's two pieces of that, right? So you got the maintenance lease and the cart lease. So the cart lease is up after this next year. I think we can get a couple more years out of the carts without having to pay for that lease. So we'll talk about what the options are there do you buy them out or do you roll over that value into the next lease? Those are options we'll talk about next summer, as we get into the end of next year. And there's benefits to both. But certainly we'll want to weigh those options. The maintenance lease is the big one, right? Our last year, the maintenance lease, which is $97,000, will come off after next year, after 26, right? So that's a big chunk of change that we won't have, and that won't roll over. We will own all that equipment. That'll all be ours, well, the cities. And now, is there going to be other capital needs along the way? Of course, but at least our main equipment will be paid for, and that'll be a $97,000 in theory savings in 2027. Now, As equipment gets older, there's a little more cost of repairs. So there'll be a little bit of net repair cost that'll add to that. But that's insignificant compared to the bigger piece there.
Anyone else having to jump in with? I don't want to monopolize Mr. Strand. Can I keep going? Or
Just looking at page 138, and this is my first round of reviewing the budget. What is the transfer to capital fund, that 18 grand, what does that go to?
So that's so we talked about getting what's called a vector oven. I think it's listed as a stove in here, but it's a vector oven. That's to help us with food and beverage. So a vector oven is kind of it's almost like having a chef without having a person. So you can program it to cook all kinds of crazy things. It could do a lot of food prep for us. So we've been adding this to a lot of our kitchens. So it helps our staff on site to do more, and it will help us extend the menu to more items without having to have like a dedicated chef.
I'm sorry, so it's cost effective.
Extremely cost effective. And that's come down in that technology's come down in price. Those used to be $40,000+. You're now getting a 4-base one, which is the model we have in here for, like 18,000. It's great. They're amazing.
so you're kind of segueing over to food and beverage again.
Sure.
Another constituent comment that I get a lot is that loving the golf, but food and beverage options are kind of limited, especially compared to courses that are now maybe comparable in play quality. Food is not there, personnel is not there. And we've done this wonderful party deck, but you're not going to get events out there without bolstering the menu offerings. So your company manages a wide variety of golf courses. I'm sure you folks have a strategy for upping our game food-wise.
Absolutely.
And do you think we're ready to do that? And what will it take to do that beyond this oven?
Sure. So oven was definitely a piece of that. In our budget is also added F&B labor to get a dedicated manager for that. So far our team does a great job, but our GM who's there is a golf pro, right? He's golf first and foremost. He's not a food and beverage guy. We certainly assist with that. And we've had some great staff that have assisted, but I agree it needs a bigger push. And for that, I think we want to add some more dedicated labor, whether that, like a F&B assistant manager that would obviously oversee that, but also be a salesperson. So they would sell parties, they would sell groups, they would sell outings, they would sell the banquets. They would, this year we started trivia nights and those types of things, which were well received, and building upon that success. Because I agree, we need to do more of that with the menu. Now, we're never going to be what a lot of golf courses are, because we still ultimately have a very small kitchen and don't have the capacity to really become a quote unquote full service restaurant, right? But I do think there's definitely more opportunity for growth on the food side. And especially when it comes to the groups. Can I talk about that now?
What about, I was
So-
going to ask before
Sure.
that, what about outsourcing? Did you ever think about like outsourcing a lot of the food, kind of like, because I know like, say you go to like trampoline park, like they don't have a kitchen in there, but a lot of the times they have like like something set up with a restaurant. So like if someone wants to do something like that, they could, you could have like a system set up with a restaurant, like, hey, and go into there. Or maybe if someone wanted to do a golf party, like groups, you could say you could bring in cater or something like that, just an idea. Like, so that way you don't really have to like go, in depths of, of catering, but hey, like we recommend this caterer, you kind of can get, you might something, a pushback or something for offering them something. So.
Absolutely agree. We have done some of that with some outings. Some of our bigger outings were, whether it was size or whether it was the menu they wanted, maybe we weren't totally comfortable with putting that all together based on what we have. So we have allowed some catering, which is great about that is we still get a service fee for hosting.
Mhm.
We still get all the alcohol revenue because it's our liquor
Yeah.
license. You can't bring outside alcohol on the
Mhm.
property, right? That's our liquor
Mhm.
license. So we would certainly gather that part. Some of the, with the deck and the, trying to add the tables underneath to create more of a pavilion space is right now we're a little bit locked in. You can only have, we have capacity limits on the deck. We have capacity limits in the side room. You can't get that 100 people all together
Mhm.
in one space. If you're going to do announcements and prizes and everyone's all over the place, you want a dedicated space. So the idea with the deck underneath was to create a pavilion type space that you could have 120 people all together,
Mhm.
which we could do most outings. Again, maybe depending on exactly the menu they want, but anything with a basic cookout or something like that, we certainly could do with what we have. So we would want to build on that part of the business. But still then allow, let's say, a wedding for, I mean, it's a beautiful spot, wants to host it. Maybe it's a smaller wedding that wants to host. Sure, let's allow a caterer to
Yeah.
come in, but we still get the alcohol revenue
we
and
do,
all
yeah.
that piece.
Food and alcohol go together great. I heard that. I don't know that.
You might
I
have
heard
heard
that,
that
yeah.
before, right? Okay.
I heard that.
So I think that's a big piece of the next steps, right? I mean, to your point earlier, we're gonna get to a capacity level on the golf course at some point. We can keep pushing rate to some degree, but again, we have to be conscious of the market. Our really revenue opportunity for growth is banquets and not just golf. I'm talking getting parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, any of those types of gatherings up there. I don't think will ever be a main wedding venue, but certainly, for pictures or groups or a bachelor party the day before playing golf and having a gathering or your cookout with that, it certainly could all be part of that. Because it doesn't take much, you get 10 of extra events up there at $5,000 a piece, that's 50 grand. I mean, that starts adding up um, in a pretty good hurry. And we would dedicate a lot of marketing and all that to that. So, that's where I see our really big opportunity is the parties and events. And then you get that extra revenue on top of, again, that cart lease or the maintenance lease falls off. We're now 150 plus thousand ahead of the game of where we are now in pretty short order.
Oh, this year, if you go to page 138, there is no interfund transfer and no appropriated fund balance. That means
I'm
that you're-
breaking even.
Okay.
That's the goal. Absolutely always the goal every year, try to break even, get to there. So I know one of the things that's, I don't think in your rates, I don't know what page it is, but we wanted to talk about, we want to raise the annual passes for next year and our rates across the board. We did about a $2 to $3 raise this past year with the rounds, with the conditions. We want to raise our fees another $2 to $4 depending on time. So weekend morning would be $4, weekday morning would be $3, afternoon rates would be $2, something like that across the board to kind of help us get there. Because we're not just going to get it in volume anymore. We got to push rate a little bit. There's definitely an appetite for that. And that's where we want to push this on greens fees because that's really the biggest mark. The rest of these budget numbers as far as passes and range and carts and concessions, and I think there's opportunity in food yet. But we got to push a little bit of rates and then we got to go after the food market.
so we actually don't have any rate changes reflected in our budget.
I'm making that request.
Oh, okay.
If we could, I don't know the whole approval process, but I'd like to, request that we go at those rates. The bigger one for this moment is the annual passes because those we want to sell over the winter to get people locked in for next year. Rates technically we have time on because, we're not really launching any of that till end of March of next year. But that was,
Do you want to walk through these?
sure.
It's on page 211, folks, in very teeny tiny print.
Okay. Sure. All right.
I can barely see the
Monday.
front.
Yeah, Monday. Okay, got it. So the Monday $30 rate would go to 33. The 2 to 6, 26 would go to 28. The next one would go to 23. The 23 would go to 25. 18 would go to 20. 39 would go to 43. 29. Actually, that actually goes up. 34. 26 goes to 28. I think that's all the rate piece. Yep. And then really for the annual passes, so all the individuals, so the single, the adult single, the senior, and the first responder would go up $80. So the single goes to 1075. The senior and the first responder go to 975. Both of the couples goes up 125. So that 1450 would go to 1575. And then the family goes up 180. So that goes from 1695 to 1875. And then the smaller ones at the bottom, the city employee, the junior, and the college each go up 50, all of them go up $50. Carts would stay the same for this year with the idea that a new fleet potentially or changes in 27 would probably take cart rates up the following year.
So are you basing all of these increases off of this past year's outcomes, and then that's what you're going to get?
Yeah, based on our
Budget.
utilization this year, we think there's some room for growth on rate. So we can gather another $2 to $3 on APR per round. So in theory, you do that same 32,000 rounds, we gather $2 extra ahead on rate across the board. That'd be an extra $64,000.
Okay, so that's all being reflected on page 138 as far as,
Yes,
okay.
that is correct.
I'll motion to make those changes if,
I'll second. I'll second.
motion by me, second by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on the rate increases for the golf course? All right, can we take a roll call?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmembers Dundon, Murray, and Matavetsky are absent. That is 4-0.
Did you get those? All of them? Okay. Very good. Okay, what haven't we asked?
I think you've hit it all. No, I mean, I think, Ely Park's been a tremendous success story from where it came from to where it is now when you're doubling up rounds and revenues over these last few years. And there's still room for growth, right? I mean, it's been a great success story to be part of. And there's still a couple more of these buckets we can go hit to get it there, make it self-sustaining.
So how many years left on your company's contract?
We just did a 3-year renewal. So we have that just started. Well, it will start actually this next in 26. So we're finishing up our first 5-year term and we did a 3-year renewal.
All right. what's left that's expensive that can break in the next year and spoil all of our plans?
I mean, the big one is always irrigation system, but we've done a lot of fixing that. Those first couple of years, we put a lot of effort and money into making sure that that holds up. So anything majorly breaks, I think we're okay. The city put money kind of right before we took over management, and we helped finish the job on the pump house. I mean, it would just be infrastructure type items that, I can't foresee. But as far as equipment, main needs, main things that we operate on a day-to-day basis, we're in a decent spot.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions, anyone?
I guess when I'm looking at page 140, at your food, beverage, and concession, and the amount that you have brought in this year so far as of September 14th, is that reasonable to you? Does that seem like a little low, or is
I
it
think
just
Rachel's going to jump in and tell us there's a delay in reporting.
So what happens is when the money comes in the bank, we record it into greens fees, and then they give us their monthly report, and then we distribute that revenue to where it actually goes. So this would have been as of the month of July. And so September and August wouldn't have been recorded at this time.
Do we have, just for our edification, do you have more updated numbers than we got in the budget?
I have, yes, we would need, I think in maybe a week or so. Right, that's what I was gonna say. Once they close September, I'll be able to give you both months, yeah.
I mean, I can say in total food and beverage, we're up 60 grand over last year through August. And then September, again, these aren't finalized numbers, but revenue number wise, it's quick math. Done another almost 25 grand compared to last year. Oh no, that's actually October, sorry. But certainly up year to date over year over year, and that trend is continued, with some of those parties and things that we've had there.
So that was,
Okay.
you said 60,000 and 20,000, so you're $80,000 over your total in 2024 or year to date
Correct.
from 2020? Wow.
Year to date.
2020. Okay.
That explains that for me. How about the annual memberships? At 54,000.
Yeah,
Is
that
it-
we're at
Is it just a matter of when you charge
we're at
for those?
hold on, I can do the math on that too. 19,187 times 7 or we're at 115,122 in membership revenue this year.
Okay.
So membership revenue, so the way we budget for that is we space that out over the 6 in-season months. So we collect it all mostly during the winter through the spring, but from a golf perspective, you want to spread that out over the in-season months to give you a better APR on your rounds of golf. So we accrue a little over 19,000 a month through October to have that match up with the actual play that's being used for those members playing during in season. That's why it's behind there, but we actually already have the money.
Okay.
So what's your average that a membership is actually used?
Well, we had a little over 200 members on.
I guess rounds played per membership. That's what I'm asking.
Well, I can tell you,
Trying to figure out if golfers are like
oh,
gym goers. as far
they,
as-
they tell us that they're way ahead of the game for sure, right? So, we did, so we did 6,500 rounds last year divided by 218 members. They average 30 rounds per member, which is actually a little low. A lot of our courses, it's 40 plus, but again, the market, our shortened season, that probably makes sense.
Fair enough. Anything else?
But if you do the math on 115,000 divided by that 6,500 rounds, you know, they're only averaging $17 a round,
It's
right?
a heck of a deal.
Right.
Heck of a deal. And that's what I will answer when somebody yells at me for raising the membership next year.
That's
You're
the
only paying
answer.
$17 per.
That is the answer.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much, Mr.
All
Stratton.
right. Thank you.
Is there a motion to close the golf fund budget, 138 to 147, and the capital and the fees on 211?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Will the clerk take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Chair Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Council members Matavetsky, Murray, and Dundon are absent. That is 4-0.
Okay. Okay. Yes. We're gonna have planning down next on the agenda. I'm gonna go refill my tea very quickly so I can keep talking. The oven.
I guess I gotta talk the 350,000 in Ely
Oh,
Park Improvement Capital.
Good. 203.
Please.
So I
do.
know that,
Well, we didn't close 203 because we didn't talk about it. So now we'll open 203. Ely Park item.
I think it's separate, but I'm part of that, so, so,
When I asked you if I didn't ask you about anything.
I know, I thought about it, then anyway, sorry. The 350,000 that's in there for that, is for siding of the clubhouse and cart paths. That's the two big items for next year. You know, this year we did a lot of the roofs on the maintenance building and the clubhouse. Actually, the maintenance roof is done and the clubhouse roof should be done this week. And then we want to address the look and feel and perception to heighten all this stuff for getting groups and outings, redoing all the siding of the clubhouse that's really old. And then the cart paths are really beat. There's a lot of areas that are falling apart, and that beats up carts, that beats up equipment, that adds to repairs. So by fixing a lot of cart path areas, you're ultimately helping on your equipment and the overall golf experience as well.
What's the breakdown of the cost of the siding versus the cart paths? Do you know?
I don't have that offhand. It was I want to say it was around 200 and 150, but I don't know. I didn't have the final quotes on that. The city was working on that.
Okay.
So this is something we're banning for. So this is general fund debt, not golf fund debt. Somebody, yes, but no. This will end up in the golf fund and paid off from the golf fund. So we're anticipating the golf course will be able to handle this debt load, hopefully going forward without fund transfers. Or Rachel.
I just managed the piece.
We have done it in the past through the general fund, but I believe we can charge, we're going to probably charge the band to the golf fund, but we can probably pay it off and not go long term with it. Depends upon how much cash we get. How the golf fund does. There's a lot of ways you could do it.
So the bands are typically renewable up to 5 years, right? So
Right. And I mean, I think the golf fund already have a band payment in it.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, see, there's already a band payment in it. So basically we'll pay off this band. We're going to pay it down and then add another band payment on it. So the band payment probably won't change very much even for the next year. It'll just continue. So it already has a band payment in there.
but is this capital improvement accounted for within the debt service?
This is just
Band.
banning for it. Then the first payment won't happen until the next year, which would be 2027.
Okay.
but you're saying the current ban is going to be dropping off.
Yes, if they for a year, and then if you don't pay it off, it continue. You can have a renewal, or it pays off, or you go long term. Those are the three options.
But the balance is something we're paying off. We're close to paying off.
I don't know exactly what this sales. I'd have to go get the band detail and tell you exactly what project that was for.
I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Oh, thank you. I think we'll wait to vote on it with the rest of the Parks Capital stuff. All right. Have a good evening. Okay. Dr. Burling. So you're all over the place. Okay.
We do a
In the
lot.
budget, I mean.
Do you want me just to walk through the budget, kind of line by line? Ish.
Yes. So I guess we'll start. Well, we'll follow your outline for now. So let's open to page 104. It's going to be, well, all right. So for the record, I think we open 81, 99, 100, 104, 105, and 106.
Do you want to go in that order or do you want to start?
No, we can follow your rubric.
All right,
104.
104. All right, so starting with the personnel services line, um, just the standard increases there, but we do have a vacancy from our historic preservation planner. We've gotten 4 applications in. One of them we're working with, hopefully will accept the offer. So wouldn't be able to start until December or January. So we're still
Inside or outside applicant?
outside. All of them were. Temporary services line, everything that's all now covered through the personnel budget, so there is nothing in that. Overtime, we decreased it by 1,500. My staff comp time, so they hardly ever use it. The overtime is really for like a special project that's been assigned and we don't use it very much. The equipment line, there's no change. We use that, I use that to buy visible outerwear. This is City of Binghamton for my guys, my staff, I should say. Protective footwear, puncture resistant. About 3 or 4 of them are out in the field. We've had some issues in the past, so now they're easily identifiable as city employees. Contractual, there's no change. It's at 0. We've used it in the past for planning projects, so the line's just there, but I didn't ask for any. Office supplies, pretty standard, no increase. We don't have a uniform requirement, so that line is 0. Could probably be taken out, wanted to. Professional services, we asked for 2,500 for that. That's used mainly for the preparation of studies, surveys, supporting documents for grant applications that goes outside of our expertise. Let's see. Oh, the legal ads and advertising, we rolled them from the individual commissions, zoning. And just put it all under one line.
So it's not an increase really, it's just moving it under your office budget instead of each individual commission budget.
Yeah, we zeroed it out of the other 2 and put it just in this. It was easier to manage. And postage is covered in office supplies. Everything can be pretty much submitted by email or through an online portal. So we don't really use that line very much. Travel and training, we've had no increase, no change.
What about with your new staff member coming on? Any anticipated extra training or?
The way that we had this was based on having someone in that position. So probably not, no. And she's graduating with her master's in historic preservation from Cornell. She could probably train us at that point, but no. We did have that position covered in with that training. Let's see. Oh, subscriptions, user memberships, that dropped. We are no longer buying or registering for the New York State Planning Federation. So we canceled that. We used it for a couple of years and they were really helpful, and now they're just not updating their information, their training, nothing. So we're okay without that. And let's see. I'm not sure the expenditures, is that still through September? No, I just remember, okay. Because it shows that we hadn't encumbered or spent a lot of our budget, but when I updated it, we have spent almost everything in our budget lines. We're tracking it through the end of the, January, we're good for that, but office supplies, we had already spent at this update of this date, like 1,500 of that. Travel, we've spent almost 1,200, so we've got 2 more fees coming in. it doesn't look like we spent anything in the line, but that wasn't current. So the current numbers now reflect it, those changes. Okay,
And it's adequate for the rest of the year?
yeah,
And the levels that you have for next year?
yeah, we should be fine. Let's see. So that was for planning and zoning. I also, pardon me.
Just had a question. It
Mhm.
says housing safety specialist 0. Is that something that we're not doing anymore or? It's
That position was partially funded, but
Sorry.
through a grant on our part, and then the county was going to pick it up and pay for the other half, and they chose not to. So we didn't have enough to offer a full position. So it is, we've kind of moved that into, we've pushed it into legal counsel, I'm sorry to say.
okay.
But the position's still needed.
Okay.
I would love to have it back, but all right. Let's see.
And there's a significant difference between housing safety specialist and the housing specialists that are under the HUD budget that you're about to look at, or?
Yep, the housing specialist works primarily with mortgages for grants or awards that we've made to people for rehab funding. It works with specifically with the housing program. So it's more of a housing finance specialist, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and the safety specialist dealt with individuals calling in with concerns regarding quality condition of housing and asking for assistance. And we worked with legal aid on that in terms of complying with identified code issues. So she kind of worked with building code construction a lot. So. And so now we have our Elizabeth does a lot of that, all of that. So.
Okay. All right, moving on to 106.
Okay, HUD admin and housing. We do have a vacancy there for the HUD admin and housing manager. We've had, oh, did I update this? We have 3 applicants and 2 of them are internal. I hope I gave you guys the updated. Okay. And we're still taking in applications. So.
For what job?
Steve Carson's position. Yeah, HUD admin and housing manager. Okay, so moving on. So again, it's very similar to our other budget.
What's that under here? Planner?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we've moved on to
Oh, I'm missing it.
page 106.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's me. Okay.
Okay. This is not half as interesting as the golf course, you know. But okay, so same with the temporary services. That's all covered through personnel's budget. Over time, we've decreased it by 400. Nobody was making active use of it. They do prefer comp time. Comp time, they can either use it as time off or cash it out at the end of the year. So let's see, office supplies, we did increase that line for HUD admin and housing. We use that to, again, purchase identifiable outerwear and protective boots. Let's see, for 2 people. Professional services. No change, really. What did we ask for? None. Okay. Legal ads and advertising, there was no change in that. This amount covers all of our legal notices, including the federal ads and our fair housing ad that we post twice a year. Let's see. We did ask for more for travel and training, a slight increase to cover conferences, seminars, training, webinars, associated travel for 4 people. We decreased our subscription dues and memberships. We are no longer purchasing the home tech estimating software. It was just not as useful as we'd hoped. All right, and I think that's it.
So this budget is based on allowable admin proportions and stuff from CDBG, correct?
Yeah, the HUD admin and housing staff are all covered through CDBG admin.
And how is this compared to our total allowable expense under that? Are we maximizing our,
We're doing our best. We track all of our hours. Some of us in the planning department, I track my hours also for HUD expenses whenever I'm working on planning or HUD cases. We take salary information, and you can help me with this here, from building code and construction, from economic development. Who else do we? For salaries, okay, for finance, do we track any with legal? Okay, we get all of the salaries that are applicable and send it in quarterly for reimbursement. Whether or
that-
not we get them in,
is that something that Steve Carson's position did, or is that something you do, or?
that's what he did, yeah, one
Part
of
of
the
his
things he
function.
did, so we're doing that. We just have to hound people to send us their information, so occasionally, but yeah, we're making good use of that. So.
Any questions so far? Okay. Quickly jump to 83.
Okay, this is COD, the Committee on Architecture and Urban Design. We rarely have to post any legal ads for this. That requirement is related to environmental assessments. So whenever we do have to post an ad, we use one of the other lines. So it doesn't really need its own funding line at all for that. So this is mostly just for the stipend for the first members. We do have a vacant position, and then we have one member who's leaving at the end of December. So we will be, we're hoping to have people interested in apply. Okay. And that's just a description kind of what COD does. We look at conditions of approval, applications, determination of significant local landmark approvals. We identify and expand historic districts. We also work with and review city projects on city-owned land.
Okay.
And we're updating the historic design guidelines. So a lot of, what they do is under Chapter 18. So.
All right, you want to jump to 100?
All right, Planning Commission. This is a site plan review submitted by developers. Site plan review and supported by Chapter 410. And we implement the city comprehensive plan with these reviews. Let's see. So we have a separate general operating supply line for supplies needed for that commission. The board member services fee, and then the legal ads and advertising we've rolled over to the main one. Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals.
That's 99.
Yeah, page 99. Reviews, we review appeals that are brought to us by developers or doesn't have to be a big developer, but it could just be an individual who's looking for an area variance, which is typically asking for a reduction in side yard setback, front yard setback, those types of area bulk densities, or use variances, which are more difficult to get. The same thing, providing supplies that supports them. Board member services, we have no vacancies, and then the legal ads were rolled over into the main line. And we've proposed no changes to the fee schedules. So I think we're at
208 and 209.
209, yeah,
The items marked PHCD.
yeah.
208 and 209.
Yep.
Do you think that all the between COD, Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals, they could all be one board?
No,
No?
no, they both have very separate.
Very separate
Separate functions, yeah. We do have it staggered so the planning commission and zoning board follow each other. So if there's an approval at one, it'll be dependent on if there's a waiver on the waiver being received or the appeal being approved.
Any questions on planning? Thank you.
What do I do? What do I have?
203.
Oh,
Oh, all right.
okay.
The Conklin Ave revitalization 3. You want to talk about that?
Pardon me?
The Conklin Ave revitalization study on
yes.
page 203.
Yes, it's a $50,000 bust. To conduct a corridor study of Conklin Ave from the border of the city to Pennsylvania Ave. And what this study will show is pretty much what we have there. And by identifying what we have, it kind of will show us what we need to support the businesses there and to encourage it. We used to apply for, sorry, but alrighty. And this is, oh, he had the code.
Is there an identified program that we would be trying to get funding from, like DRI, or is that the program in another future round or something else, or
Yes,
just hoping?
yes, no, it'll get all the information ready for us for the next round of grants coming out. There's ESG, there's EFC, there's a bunch of different types of grants that we could apply for to get move forward with some of the projects. So, but we need this study, the corridor study done to get us ready for that point. So. They ask for anything else? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily your jurisdiction at this time, but I think we've talked a little bit about the vacant vacant property registry and how it's been kind of like historically, it seems to be on a downward trajectory as far as at least revenue.
Right. Well,
This
I know, I mean, the position started in my office and it's transferred into building code and construction right now. The intent of the registry is to encourage people to put their vacant properties back into active use.
Mhm.
So when it was managed under my office, we, tracked the properties that we're aware of. We're notified in a number of different ways, and we would contact the property owners and give them applications. They had to fill them out. It's a $500 initial, and then $50 for every year after that. So the initial is, we'll make it a higher revenue. And then if they move into active use, they get taken out of the registry. So as far as I know, that was related to any decline we had in our office. We work with people to get their properties,
When did that move happen?
That 2 years ago? Was it, do you remember? I think around 2 years ago. Megan, do you remember? Okay, yeah, within the last 2 or 3 years, so.
The fees are still listed under planning and housing.
Yeah. That explains your question.
It does.
Yeah. Well, I'm more than welcome to move it back. I liked having it under my office. So, I'm kidding. So, but I did like it. We didn't ask for any increases. We had a couple of pretty large fee increases last year, so we're good. So, but
Anything else?
yeah.
there a motion to close the planning pages?
Make the motion.
I'll second. So this is for pages 83, 99, 100, 104, 105, and 106, and the unchanged fees on 203, I think. 203, 204, and the Conklin Ave study in the Capitol page of 203, 208, 209. Thank you. All right, motion second. Any discussion? Just the item. What? Just the item? Oh, all right. Oh, we need more people. All right, not page 203, because we don't have enough people.
Do you need a new motion?
I will just withdraw the 203 part of the motion.
Okay.
So 83, 99, 100, 104, 105, 106, and 208, 209. Motion second, and any discussion? Yes.
Does anybody feel like they want to wait for everybody else for this?
This one feels a bit more, so like I don't have a specific reason, but this one feels a bit more substantial.
Okay.
In terms of waiting for our other three members.
Okay.
Okay. I'll say my piece. I don't know what we would move around. The budget's actually lower than last year. Obviously we want to keep the historical planner.
Mhm.
I don't know what we would change in here. I'm just in favor of not being here till midnight on Thursday. But that's my 2 cents. Will the clerk take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
No.
Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
That is 2-2. Thank you. Council members Matavetsky, Murray, and Dundon are absent.
Okay, pages stay open. All right, Juliet, thank you so much. Have a good evening. How's everyone doing? Ready to press forward? All right. Now we will have the parking budget. And then we have Pablo Escamilla from Laz Parking. Excellent. We're going to open to the ramps fund, which is 125 to 137. We didn't get any sort of written summary. Before we get to Pablo, I want to ask Chuck about the interfund transfer piece of this, the 800,000, and how that. I know it's somehow left over from Water Street, but
That money came from the general fund. So we're going to use that to help the ramps fund out this next year.
So that's essentially paying down ramp fund debt.
It can.
I mean,
It's helping out their budget.
but in that, well, obvious, but in the grand scheme,
In the grand scheme of things, yes.
this is money that was borrowed for the Water Street ramp or not?
No, it came
No.
from the general fund.
So this was originally
Borrowed money is bonded and it's already
Right.
bonded for.
So this was originally ARPA money?
No,
No, just general fund money
yes.
that we had committed to the Water Street ramp that we've moved. Okay. And what do we do next year if the hole's this big?
Raise the rates.
I mean, it's almost equal to 30% of the revenue of the whole system.
Right. I mean, once we get into the budget and talking about it, they have a lot of maintenance issues at State Street. So basically when it goes down, they're gonna have a lot of savings.
All right. Take us on a journey, Pablo.
Yeah, so overall, the 2026 budget essentially stabilized 2025 adjustments for expansion, accounting for capital improvements in 2026. Obviously, State Street going down, accounting for that, outdated equipment at Collier and Holly. And then no new staff's positions identified for 2026. Overall, the budget is steady operation growth and controlled costs. So that's really what we're expecting for 2026.
Do you have any idea of, maybe I'll get to this later, but it's like, what would the fees have to be for it to balance itself out without having to pull from other funding sources? So it'd be like self-sustaining with like what we're hoping to do with like the golf fund and.
I'm not exactly sure on the interest rates, the charges and the bonds and all that. I do know, I mean, we do cover all expenses with our revenues. I think what we're seeing there is the costs on the back end.
So I'm seeing in the professional services, we have an increase to $41,300 for increased network hosting, expand operations at Water Street, vendor fees, and updating equipment. What equipment? I'm still asking, where is this expense coming from? We're taking down a parking garage and presumably reducing the amount of equipment we're using.
Yeah, there's still no exact date of when that's happening. So I think a lot of these things, we're still expecting them in the budget just because we don't exactly know any specific dates when these things are going to happen.
Okay. I mean, I think the garage is going to be closed before the end of the year.
Right. That is expected.
Credit card fees, an increase to $37,500. It's just reflecting the fact that Everyone's paying by credit card now.
Seeing more and more adoption of it. Yeah.
So what's the cash credit split?
We're about 85%, almost 90% credit card already. So there's about 10%. But me and Chuck are working on consolidating all those. So right now, currently, Laz pays through our equipment, and then the city pays directly through the Burr National equipment. So we're looking to make sure that
I
gets
think
merged
that's
together, and we get a
something I
potentially
asked
higher
about
discount.
last year. Yeah. And we've also discussed going out to bid on the parking management contract in general. No offense, but just to see where we're at in the
Oh,
marketplace.
none taken.
So how are sales going as far as uh, uh, Water Street utilization, and how much more of that are we going to get from State Street closing down? How is that transitioning happening?
Seamlessly, actually, for our monthly parkers at least. All the key tags are transferable, so we won't even have to switch out cards like we might have done in the past. It's completely can be transparent. Office staff will do it, and then they'll just be directed to park at the designating garage that they get assigned to.
Do you have an idea how much you're spending versus collecting for the after hours / special event usage, particularly at the Collier Street lot?
Not at the top of my head, but I have those numbers.
I keep toying around with the fact that there's still a person there a lot of the time, which could be a parking kiosk a lot of the time.
It could be, and that's one of the suggestions we have before you too, is to simplify the hours of operation. So therefore, when we do transitions, when State Street goes down, and then we can update the Collier Street equipment, we can make that transition easier.
Are you talking about physically moving that gate and kiosk over there, or?
It's been part of the discussions. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this isn't for you, but I don't see where we're paying for a demolition for that garage in this budget. Is that
That would be a capital item.
right? But I don't see it in the capital items right now.
There's some money left over in the capital fund, and we'll submit an RL by the end of the year for that money. When we have a better number for whatever the demo number is, it wouldn't be in the ramps fund,
Okay. But
and it's not in the capital CIP either. We have the money for that.
So you're saying it would come out of 2025's capital budget, not next year?
Right. Money we already have.
okay.
So, so that parking ramp is not making any money at all? That is it? It's the one that's gonna be demoed.
Currently or planned in 2026?
Currently, it's
No,
not.
it is. I mean, it still has monthly parkers. We did limit the availability of monthly parking. It does still handle transient. It's full service still. It has not shut down yet. So we still have personnel there. We're still handling snow and ice, so we can reduce our claims. Yeah, it's fully operational. So
What if we like charged employees like a discount rate and let them park there?
they do.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
Most-
Yep.
Okay.
There's an employee rate.
I think you're getting a new truck in the
I hope
capital
so.
budget.
I think our trucks was back in 2012, I think.
You can use that for plowing. So is it getting a new plow? Is the old plow getting fitted to the new truck?
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
You use it for plowing as well as general maintenance, right? So is it getting a new
We use it
plow? Is the old
For
plow going to the new
salting
truck?
and plowing, yeah, for State Street and for Collier.
I don't have anything else at the moment. Anyone else? Okay. Is there a motion to close the ramps budget?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. A motion to close the ramps fund, which is 125 to 137. And we had no changes to the fee schedule, right?
There is a change in the fee schedule for
Oh, there
college.
is a change in fee schedule. Wait, all
I
right,
believe it's page.
let's press pause. There it is, in yellow. Page 209.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I believe the line item for the free nights was just removed.
It's the free parking 7 PM to 2 AM. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So on free night and free day weekends. Looks like it's getting removed. So it would go to the standard rates for the rest of the,
Right.
how do we deal with validating parking for there at City Hall right now?
Yeah, so there's talks about having kiosks here available in the meeting halls to be able to validate seamlessly for anyone that comes.
We'll find a spot for them.
Okay. It is in the city charter. It is in the city charter that it's free parking there for
Oh,
City Hall business. So we should respect that, I think. Any discussion
Absolutely.
about this removal on 209? Okay,
You need a motion.
yes.
Make the motion.
All right, motion to remove items for free parking at Collier Street on 7 PM to 2 AM Monday through Wednesday, and free parking on the weekend daytimes. Those two line items from page 209. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the removal? I don't see any discussion. Will the clerk take the roll?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Chair Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Council members Murray, Matavetsky, and Dundon are absent. Thank you. That is 4-0.
Okay. Councilperson Middleton, would you like to remake your motion?
I'll make a motion to close the pages.
Okay, close the ramps fund 125 to 137 and page 209 items as amended. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Rathmel. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, my discussion would be that, like, shouldn't we also be increasing the parking ramp fees?
Oh, okay.
Do you think we need to do that? I can't remember if we did, I think we did last year.
So we do rate assessments throughout the community. So we look at Syracuse, we look at Ithaca, we look at surrounding communities, and we see where our rates are, and they're pretty consistent with what they are. We didn't advise any rate change.
Okay.
And what about compared to other private parking situations downtown?
Even with private parking is usually a little bit higher.
Did I
But-
see that
but-
Security Mutual is making a bunch of spots available to rent recently?
We are in conversations with them, yes.
You're in conversation with them. Oh. To manage that for them.
For LAS to manage it, yeah.
So you're competing with ourselves. Sure.
Also sharing costs.
Oh, now that's more interesting. Okay. All right.
Now we share costs with different cities as well.
Interesting. All right.
Yep.
That's good development, maybe. All right.
So if we don't need to, if you don't think we need to change the fees, I'm fine.
Okay. Will the clerk take the roll then, please?
Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Chair Kavanaugh,
Aye.
council members Murray, Matavetsky, and Dundon are absent. Thank you. That is 4-0.
Thank you very much, Bob. Everyone okay to continue? All right. Corporation Counsel, you're in the hot seat. Want to take your plaque? I'm joking.
Yes, please.
We're going to open the law budget, pages 28 and 29.
I think I have it. Thanks.
So we're going to open pages 28 and 29 in the general fund and the risk management page, which is 193 and 194 in the insurance fund, which is the M fund. I think that's it, right? 28 and 29 to start. So this is easily, no, I'll just let you go.
So, the big change in this budget over last year is the addition of the 3 positions, one being an additional code prosecutor position, one being an additional paralegal position, and the final one being an additional assistant corp counsel position. So obviously the personal services line has a large increase to reflect those additional salaries. The other increases largely reflect the anticipated increase in costs from having the larger staff. So office supplies was increased a bit. Law books, which is what we pay for, like our legal search engine through, what we, pay for Pacer, which is the federal filing system through all that stuff. It reflects additional cost increases that the main one obviously being LexisNexis, which is our legal search engine that we use. Litigation arbitration expenses has a slight increase. Well, it has an increase to reflect what we anticipate being the larger workload from the additional staff. Big things with that would be increasing like the unsafe structure hearings, increases to state Supreme Court filings for the additional code prosecutions we're looking at pursuing through the state Supreme Court, and paying for those fees, as well as the associated like transcript costs from having to do additional depositions or appeals. And then sub-student memberships has an increase based off the anticipated increased number of people that we'd have to be paying bar association dues for, as well as paying for renewed registrations for.
I guess I got a lot of thoughts. So let's where to begin? So I think, thank you for this write-up and the demonstrations of like the increased condemnations, water hearings, lockout letters, lockdown letters, and so on, the different cases that you've taken on. Am wondering, is adding the additional assistant corp counsel, like if we had the corp counsel position filled, do you think that would be, I'm sure that would take on a lot of workload compared to
So.
adding another one, adding
Ye-
another attorney?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, like part of what didn't change for this year, which I would anticipate changing down the road if we had increased positions, would be the outside legal services fund that we have under the risk management and insurance fund. We didn't reduce that because again, I'm running with less than full staff and I'm not sure when I'm going to get full staff next year. Plus there's the lag in savings that comes from litigation that's currently going on that we're not going to be able to pull back in-house. That's not going to make sense to pull back in-house until we're fully staffed. So, I mean, the idea with adding that assistant corp counsel role is to try and just increase our overall capacity to be able to pull some of that outside litigation back in. Particularly when you're talking about to a lesser extent, the fire department, but certainly the police department, having someone that does and does a lot of work in the federal litigation area with civil rights. That's where that's where the city has a lot of exposure to high damage settlements if we don't properly handle those cases, which is why we use outside counsel for a lot of those cases currently. It's expertise that the office used to have more of, and I'd like to be able to pull some of that back in-house because there's some of these cases that we could probably file and get dismissed, but I don't have a body I can throw at it right now. The other piece with police and fire that's big is the 207 benefits. So police and fire have a unique setup with what's called 207 benefits under general municipal law, which is basically their version of workers' comp. Currently I work with our risk management paralegal to kind of handle a lot of those claims, but that's another thing where like we have to go out and get additional support from outside firms to help handle a lot of those claims and be able to effectively deal with them. And it's something that if I had someone I could put towards it in-house, they could just handle all of that and I'd have the familiarity and expertise within that department that we could develop to handle the sort of unique claims that come out of the fire and police department.
Okay, so like in general, the strategy is to build your in-house capabilities so that we can decrease the cost of outside counsel. And you think there's more than enough work to make that happen?
Correct.
To keep people busy. Okay.
So this was the strategy last year as well. We were trying to build up staff, which we actually had full staff.
I think we had full staff. We had a couple periods of full staffing, but less than a full year of full staffing.
Represented here is roughly a $400,000 over this year, but it's not as bad as it looks, I don't think, because there used to be a personnel line in the M fund and it's no longer there. So that's about 100,000. That's a wash, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Am I correct, Chuck?
We consolidated all of the personnel lines into the law department rather than having the chargeback setup there was before. And that was to make some of this less complicated. In particular, what came out of trying to adjust salaries out of last year's budget proceedings.
We're also not quite as bad as we look. I'm assuming because we will have underspent this year to what kind of degree, Chuck, since we have open positions.
Meaning in total, I don't have that number with me, but we'll probably be, what, close to $1 million?
Not for the law.
Yeah, not for the law department. No, I don't know the numbers just for the law department. No.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're missing technically a corporation counsel until Bob comes to his senses. And we're still missing a deputy or a whatever assistant, right?
Yeah, I believe the total left would be somewhere in the neighborhood, probably a little around 100 grand is what I think is left in our personnel line from the vacant position.
So kind of in the grand scheme of things, between the money saved from this year and the moving the funds from the M fund, we're really looking around a $200,000 net increase if we let you have this expense for next year. If we say, okay, try and go out and hire these positions.
Correct.
And what's the chance you're actually going to hire both of these or all three of these positions?
I think that there's a good likelihood that we can fill at least a couple of them relatively quickly. And I'll talk about the paralegal position a little bit because I did kind of have some background on it. So like currently we have a risk management paralegal that handles a lot of the like civil, he helps handle a lot of the 207 claims. He helps handle a lot of the initial review of like our notice of claims that we get, where, you know, people are claiming that, you know, they tripped and fell on a sidewalk, or when we have a vehicle accident, he does a lot of the initial legwork with a lot of that. The second paralegal position would basically be a litigation focused paralegal where they would help the code prosecution side of the office with complying with their discovery requirements under New York state law, as well as helping to put together, you know, sort of basic legal documents and legal memoranda. The other piece of what I would like that paralegal to do litigation wise is helping the city put together the discovery for outside counsel. That's typically something that you would use a paralegal for, is helping to collect and organize that discovery. Currently, that's something that I do.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Are we getting good bang for our buck from these more complicated state Supreme Court filings for code prosecutions? The amount of time and effort and now expense going toward them versus how many properties we're actually addressing. And my philosophy toward code has always been seeking compliance and safe housing rather than punishment, essentially.
Yes. So the idea with the Supreme Court filings, and this is something that's sort of been developing across the state, is that you have a different sophistication between city courts and the state Supreme Courts. And where that comes in handy in particular is when you're dealing with companies that have multiple layers of corporate structure to them. A lot of the cases that we're bringing over in Supreme Court are focused on LLC structured owners, and they're focused on larger unit counts. My position is to try and keep as many of the sort of smaller landlord or homeowner cases in city court, where you really don't need the sophistication to handle those more complex cases, and where large penalties don't make sense. Where again, like you said, the focus is really on compliance. We're not looking to punish people who are trying to make fixes to their own home, or they're small landlords who are trying to manage a few different properties and where issues pop up. The idea is to take cases over to Supreme Court where you have larger entities that aren't complying with our notices of violations, as well as certain cases where you have landlords that repeatedly won't address their issues that we brought in city court. And so the idea is that it's a better tool to have, and it's a stronger tool to have. So we shouldn't be using it as aggressively or as often as city courts, but it is a very useful tool because it gives us access to more enforcement measures. In terms of state Supreme Courts tend to be more amenable to issuing things like injunctions to require repairs, as well as imposing larger penalties when owners refuse to make repairs.
I mean, this isn't necessarily related to the budget at hand, but a question that comes up for me is whether there's any effort on the part of your office to partner with legal services for 7D petitions or filings, and whether there might be some benefit in pushing for those.
So I think a lot of 7D is more focused on the tenants and the tenants driving what they want to do. From the city side of it, it's really just setting up sort of the receiver setup for those cases. And you know, my office does interact with legal aid a decent amount, particularly when it comes to things, in particular condemnation hearings, where a lot of times tenants will get connected with legal services and they'll look to help represent or try and help them through the condemnation process, since both owners and tenants have rights as part of those hearings. To me, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to legal aid pursuing 7D. I don't know if there's a ton from my office's perspective to do with those cases, other than maybe helping to get, you know, some of the information and paperwork over to legal services. Where there is an opportunity, and where I know Councilman Hotchkiss has been interested, is in 7C proceedings, which have to do with abandoned properties and the city pursuing abandoned properties and taking ownership of them.
I'm scrunching my face because I thought, what's 19A then?
Or maybe it's
Is that a
19,
different- I think the
it might be 19A.
part of
It might
It
be
is the
19A.
7C
Yes.
is
Okay.
a collective petition versus an individual of 7D. But
Yes.
okay.
either way, worth bringing up.
Then
Yeah.
yes, that is what I talked to you about.
Yeah, so there's a couple other proceedings that I know there's an interest in trying to do stuff with, but again, it goes with the bandwidth. And obviously part of the bandwidth problem is I'm understaffed. And you know, my guess is that we're not going to see a whole lot of movement until after the election anyway, given that my entire office is appointed. But I think once the election's over, it's going to be easier to try and hire people into the office.
So. Okay, I guess, is there I mean, we had a committee meeting with Elizabeth Rosso, whatever, about a month ago at this point, but I think my takeaway from her feedback is that it's really slow for her to move forward with some of these cases, and it's a lot of work. And I don't have a great grasp at the number of cases that she does on an annual basis, and like what that looks like to the bigger picture for the city. Like if she's able to do 5 cases a year, but then there's ultimately 1,000 things that she should be doing, it's going to be like a never ending problem and not that meaningful of a solution to, even though like the work is meaningful in like those cases, just like trying to seek the most effective tool to address an issue. And that's
So the last I checked, which was, I believe, about a month ago, she had approximately 100 open housing code cases in addition to the 4 Supreme Court cases. That's down a little bit from last year. But that's sort of expected with having the higher load in Supreme Court, where there's a bit more paperwork involved, and if you're pushing these to trial, you start to see increased amounts of workload to put all that stuff together.
I think my interest from a budget perspective relative to that would be looking at how we can balance. I mean, I've observed Council Rosso appreciate what she's doing, think that it's critical. Certainly want to see her, not only her have, but the office have what they need to continue that work. As Councilmember Hotchkiss pointed out, the duration of those trials, the impact for tenants and impact to neighborhoods as those buildings continue to deteriorate. I think I'm very interested from a budget perspective in what we're investing in proactively. So that's, I mean, part of what I'll look to consider and discuss with members.
the new paralegal would also support the code prosecutor, right?
Correct. That'd
Okay.
be probably the bulk of what they do day to day. And then again, sort of the secondary piece would be helping with the discovery stuff for outside counsel. And then also trying to cross-train them a little bit with our existing risk management paralegal to help so we have a little more continuity when our risk management paralegal eventually leaves, because he's very good at what he does. Everyone in the office is very good at what they do. Now, obviously, I'm sure you've seen the press release on what Elizabeth's been doing. When you look at the numbers for like condemnation hearings and water hearings, a lot of that's being handled by Ryan Matt, as well as the lockdown and the dangerous dog cases.
Jump over to the M fund lines to the outside counsel. I know you in your summary discuss a kind of lag in savings and getting personnel and whatever, but how are we doing this year? Are we on track? We had as of September, 482,000 spent out of the 650 we budgeted. How are we looking now that it's the middle of October?
We've expended a little bit more because of a major personnel investigation that took place recently. That wasn't anticipated. So Chuck, do you know where it's at currently by chance?
I just approved a lot of POs and recs today concerning that. So they should be, the checks could be cut this Friday.
All right. I would like to see an updated number on that because we kind of did a lump sum last year in trying to anticipate what the needs would be rather than piecemeal it out for you. But I'd kind of like to see a summary of where we're at with the billables. 193.
Yeah.
In the M fund.
I think prior to that expenditure, we were probably in pretty good shape to come in at or below that number. We'll see how the rest of the year shakes out, but that was, like I said, that was a larger expense that wasn't planned for.
And similar question for our incurred losses. We blew through the budget.
A lot of that is the vehicle accidents, which council is already familiar with. There's not a lot.
That's accounting for that.
Yeah, I mean, I that's not an expense that I can easily control versus some of the other ones. Particularly when it comes to like vehicle accidents. I mean, when it comes to sort of your standard personal injury stuff, I have more flexibility and wiggle room with those in terms of being able to negotiate and keep those costs under control in a way that I'm not able to for vehicle accidents. I know that it's been shared with council that the police department has implemented some measures to try and address the higher number of accidents in that department. I've been talking with DPW about a similar type of training to try and address the accidents that have happened there. But I mean, we've had accidents in almost every department of the city. It's been DPW, it's been fire, it's been police, it's been code. There's just been a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't, it's not for this conversation, but
Thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns? Anyone else?
should it be like part of personnel? Like onboarding that but I don't know, there's the employee age and tenure is all over the place, right? So it's like, how often do you have to take a defensive driving class if you're gonna use a city vehicle?
So
I don't know.
That's certainly something that we can look at. And I know I've talked with some of the council members before. I've talked with our director of personnel before about potentially implementing like a rolling schedule for this. Obviously, you know, there's benefits on both sides to it. Certainly we need to address the fact that there have been a higher number of incidents this year with city drivers. Some of the people involved in these accidents are no longer with the city, for one reason or another. But you know, it's one of those things where, like, from looking back at what I can see historically, we've never had this many accidents in a year across so many departments. It's just an anomaly from what I can tell. And I think the big focus is making sure it stays an anomaly, and it's, you know, this year's a bad year. I don't want to come back next year and have to explain why it was not an anomaly.
Anything else at the moment?
I'm curious to know if there's any other anomalies that happened at different municipalities, and if there was a meaningful way they found to address it through policy or something to that effect. Like,
I mean, from addressing it,
Yeah.
a lot of it has to go back to training. I mean, that's how you address a lot of the issues with avoidable accidents is you redo training, and there's discipline involved with that if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be. But the the other piece is you train or retrain whoever it was that got in the accident.
Right.
You look very pensive, Nate.
Fine, thanks.
Right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much. Corporate.
Workers' comp.
Forgot about that. That's going to be 194, I think,
Five.
or
I think.
95. Yes. All right. 195.
I mean, not a lot to note on here. Workers' comp is, I mean, the cost is set by contract. And then I know there's some tail end claims that we're still dealing with. That's the worker comp claims line. From when the city self-insured for workers' comp. We reduced that because we just we're not using that amount for those tail end claims. We have less claims coming in. So we reduced it. We still have a little bit of a buffer with it just in case.
That was one of Sophie Bergman's goals, was to get those off the books, but it looks like there's not been a lot of movement on that.
So some of it is just we have to wait for some of those to fall off. Yeah, I mean, again, that they're from when the city was self-insured. It's not like we can necessarily transfer the liability for those claims to anyone.
But this is a situation where we're continuing to cut monthly checks to recipients rather than, they're not taking settlements, essentially.
No, we haven't really had any luck with that. We can try revisiting some of that, but my understanding was that didn't really go very far. And I mean, the only thing I'll note for the workers' comp insurance is we put that out to bid last year. So
We put it out to bid and it went up by $24,000.
not bad.
Anyone? Is there a motion to close the legal pages and the insurance fund risk management page and the workers' comp page? I don't see any motion. Okay. So those pages will stay open. Thank you very much, Corporation Counsel. Thank you very much, CR, Rachel, Deputy Mayors. I don't think you joined in once tonight. Okay. It is 7 o'clock. If there's no more discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hotchkiss, second by Councilman Middleton. All